Bears fans, welcome back. Bear down, and away we go. Free Talk Tuesday, episode 5. For those who aren't familiar with the channel, this is something I started doing 6 weeks ago, where I'm coming to you every Tuesday morning, giving you free talk, ad-libbing it, just talking for 30, 45 minutes about the state of the Bears, where we're at. This is going to continue into perpetuity. I really appreciate you guys checking out the channel. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of it. This is a historic offseason. We're never going to forget this one, guys. We had picks 1 and 9. Last year we had pick 1 and we traded it down for pick 9. This year we've got pick 1 and 9. And I don't remember ever having this much excitement, buzz, controversy, the entire Civil War, Justin Fields, Caleb Williams, hell, even Tyson Bagent now. If you guys haven't seen that, we'll hit that at the end of the episode. Tyson Bagent's putting in the work. He's got the offseason rolling. He is doing his part. And no, we'll hit that one early on, and we'll hit it late. That doesn't mean he has a shot of being QB1, but I love the work ethic. We'll get into that. We'll show it to you. He is nonstop, and I love the commitment. He's training hardcore. He's completely beefed up. His size is spectacular. Like, he looks like he is absolutely trying to be a bodybuilder. Like, you look at the videos. I'll post a couple things on here. I don't know how much I can show. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't ever want to jeopardize things because we've got a good thing rolling here. But there's a lot of positives that I'd like to show. I'd like to show more video. I'm going to figure it out one day. This channel is only 4 or 5 months old. It's not very old. I started doing this out of the controversy that was coming out of the end of last year, and I really enjoy sharing things with you, hitting the analytics, hitting the breakdowns, hitting the news, and where the Bears are headed, in my opinion. So with that, let's actually get into some of it. A couple of things that have transpired over the last 12 hours. So if you're just waking up to this, which everyone is, if you're just waking up to it, these things are new. So let me pull it up for you here. 1 second. All right, here's our top 30 visits. If you missed my videos earlier, it's always changing. So here it is for you. And I've reorganized it for the reasoning of this video. You're going to see things are starting to become really clear what Ryan Poles is up to. This man, he's calculated, but he's got his methodology. And if you really follow and understand him, okay, we haven't understood everything he's doing. I'll take a brief pause. He's got his reasonings, but he is a pretty straight shooter. He's pretty straightforward. There are 2 new ones on the bottom left there. Byron Murphy, the second, technically, the defensive tackle out of Texas, has now scheduled his top 30 interview. It appears that'll be happening today or sometime this week. J.C. Latham, offensive tackle from Alabama, is also here, either today or tomorrow. It's happening right now. So look at the left side. These are the 1st and 9th overall pick possibilities here. And then what I've done is organized it because a lot of these guys, when you look at it, you look at the big board, you look at where, I say the big board, but there's so many of them, but you look at consensus big boards, right after Malik Neighbors, so those top 4, those are all consensus top 10 picks. Dallas Turner too. I don't see it that way. I don't see any of the edges in this class being a top 10 pick. So I really feel like Ryan Poles is tipping his hand. And he's saying either we're going to take one of these wide receivers, taking Caleb Williams, that's why he's highlighted. I mean, it's a foregone conclusion. If you haven't seen what Montez Sweat said, in fact, let me pull that up real quick. All right, let's see here. This is from Green Light with Chris Long. He had Montez Sweat on and interviewed him. Listen to this.
Okay, so the next guy, whoever the next guy is.
Whoever the next guy is. Come on now.
Yeah, all right. All right, well, let's talk about
No, I'm playing. Let me stop.
it. Let's talk about it.
Talking about
You never know. You never know, though. You never know.
You never know, but let's say it's Caleb.
Mm-hmm.
You get to talk to Caleb for the first time. He walks in the building. You're a leader. What's one piece of advice that you would give a young quarterback trying to be a leader in this league in a room full of alphas and veterans?
Be yourself. Don't try to do it all over the night, and just stay humble. Don't try to do it all by yourself. You got a great group of guys around you. I know you've seen the pieces, Keenan Allen, Swift from Philly.
Yeah, Swift.
We got some guys that around him, so I could just be humble and be yourself. So I mean, he's obviously a talented guy. I would just say, just don't try to do it all in one night.
All right, so that's pretty big. Again, I give it credit where it's due. That's Chris Long with the Green Light podcast that he has. And so, I mean, everyone's already talking foregone conclusion. Caleb Williams is the number 1 pick, but think about it. There are really 2 leaders on the team now that Justin Fields is gone. On defense, it's clearly Montez Sweat. He has come in. He's been dominant. Everyone talks about the Sweat effect. Tez Sweat, the Tez Sweat effect. And on offense, I mean, there's a couple that there could be, but DJ Moore is clearly one. And he said in the offseason several things. He was really vouching for his boy. He's vouching for Justin Fields, and he's wanting him to remain the quarterback of the team. I got to remember to bring the video up more with the Free Talk Tuesdays a little bit more often when I'm talking about talking points. So really, it's those 2 guys. And DJ Moore in the season said, there's 3 of them, talking about quarterbacks coming out in this draft class. 3 of them, none of them are better than Justin. All right, so automatically that could lead people to think there might be some controversy. There might be some negative feelings in the locker room because of what he said. I think they're all mature adults. I think they can understand that he was trying to vouch for his quarterback. Well, when he had his top 30 visit, when Caleb did, they made it a point to bring DJ Moore in and have him meet with Caleb Williams, which is huge. Now you hear on the other side of the ball, on the defense, the leader there already talking about Caleb Williams being the quarterback of the Bears. These are huge things for the Bears. That's already establishing that we are not going to have locker room issues. Everyone's adjusting. Everyone's adapting. It was really smart of Ryan Poles to get Justin Fields out the door. I understand we don't all agree with it. I understand it wasn't the direction we wanted to go. You guys know I was on the forefront of supporting Justin Fields. But the reality is the way it's been done, the way that it's showing that Caleb Williams has already taken leadership of this team, that's a good thing. For him to come in this early, to establish a presence this early, and the team to adapt and adjust, that's a good thing. Then we can have a head start. Other teams like Washington, New England, maybe New York Jets or Giants, maybe the Raiders, maybe Minnesota, Denver. They don't know who their quarterback's going to be right now. They can have assumptions. They can kind of put the forefront. And I know some of us are still holding on that we'll make a trade with Washington for the Hall. But long term, that might not be the best approach anymore. We've already established a new leader on the team. These guys are adapting and adjusting. They're getting used to it. This is only going to create continuity. I did a video a couple months back about cohesion and the locker room and the team being one. That was one thing you could kind of worry about with Justin Fields being gone, is would there be a seamless transition? You always worry about that, especially when there was someone as polarizing as Justin Fields. Someone the city had rallied around. Someone that you heard at the last home game. We want Fields. We want Fields. That leaves worry in some people's minds. Well, here we are a couple months later, and already it seems like that page has been officially turned, and the team has moved forward in the new direction maturely. That is one of the biggest reasons that Matt Eberflus was kept as head coach. He did have a firm grasp about this locker room and the culture of it, cultivating that winning mentality and people being supportive of one another. Every press conference where the Bears were losing in the beginning, you heard him come out and talk about it, talk about cohesion, talk about them having each other's backs, blocking the outside noise out, getting the outside noise out, and really sticking together, rallying together, being the team, rallying the troops. You heard that so much. It's real. You can see it's real. You can see what he's doing right now is building that team mentality and approach. At this point, you see that highlighted name at the top. I really do feel like it's 99+%. And if I'm saying that, guys, it's probably happening. Because I was the guy holding out. I was the guy that wanted the Hall. But realistically, that's not happening. All right, so let's look at this. Let's look at the left side here. We got Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, and Malik Neighbors. Consensus, those guys are top 10 players. Okay? Marvin Harrison Jr. came in this last week. Rome Odunze and Malik Neighbors, the very first week of all of this. Well, it's only been 1 week since pro days or top 30 visits have happened. But Harrison Jr., the most recent one. Is that even possible? Well, yeah. We're not going to get into the trade scenarios. I don't see that being what Ryan Poles does to trade up when he talked about next year's draft capital and next year's draft having so many players going back that it'll be a deeper draft class. To recap, next year's draft should be solid all the way into the day 3. There should be solid prospects to pick from, players that could impact your team. This year's draft class, so many players went back, the whole COVID, everything happening there. This year, it's pretty consensus that the top 75 players are really, top 80 players, maybe even into 100, first 3 rounds, are really solid, really players that should impact a team. You get into the 4th round and you see a clear drop-off where you're picking players that are most likely typical undrafted free agent status type of guys. Now, I'm not saying all the way from 100 down, but I'm saying it's more shallow than it normally is. So not a horrible year to trade picks like to Buffalo for Ryan Bates. Or, I mean, either way you slice it, trading for Keenan Allen for a 4th was genius. For those who don't realize that one, if we don't extend Keenan Allen, we're going to get a 3rd-round compensation pick for him. So we just converted a 4th round into a 3rd round and a 1-year rental of Keenan Allen, who is a perennial wide receiver 1. Always. And even if he has a lag off this year, which I don't have any reason why he would, I'm just saying even if he did, you're having an 8,000-9,000 yard receiver with that much experience teaching the younger guys below him. It was genius, but it was also opportunity. Obviously, the Chargers were trying to alleviate their salary cap problems, which is a huge reason why we love Ryan Poles here. We're not in salary cap hell anymore. All right, so back to our purpose here. After you get down past Dallas Turner, you have these players that are not within that top 10 time frame of where you would select. Now, sometimes a player impresses you that you don't see the same as other boards, and maybe Chop Robinson, Latu, Brock Bowers, Byron Murphy, maybe those guys to the Bears are worth taking at 9. And if they are, so be it. Great. We just got a blue chip player that we see Hall of Fame potential in, and awesome. Let's snag him. But the reality is when you look at the second table there, Xavier Worthy came in this week. Cam Kitchens came in with Caleb Williams, it sounds like now at this point. Well, you've got all these players. We don't have a 2nd-round pick. We don't have anybody from 9 to 75. So we don't have anywhere in between there in those 66 picks. We don't have anything in between there. So why are we looking at these 2nd-round guys? Well, obviously, Ryan Poles is tipping his hand here that if one of those top wide receivers is not there, or maybe he sees Dallas Turner or Latu as number 9, but if one of them aren't there, he can trade back and take these other guys he's looking at the bottom there. You see Chop Robinson, Latu, Brock Bowers, Byron Murphy, J.C. Latham. A small trade back and pick up a 2nd-round pick and pick up Zach Frazier, who doesn't have to come in day 1 and be a starter. And you saw how that worked last year with, what's his name? John Michael Schmitz. He got thrust in right off the bat and had a really, really terrible first year. Really highly regarded center, bad year. So you could have a Graham Barton or a Zach Frazier come in. And Graham Barton actually might be better for that, to be able to sit a year behind Coleman Shelton and be able to learn from him and be able to come in and play occasionally, get some experience. But to take him in the 2nd round, or to take Tyler Guyton in the 2nd round because he's been falling, or even J.C. Latham because of the injury he had and because he didn't participate in the combine or at his pro day, didn't get all the statistics on him. Let's look at a couple of these guys. We'll do that in a second. Or Xavier Worthy, if he falls into the 2nd round, or maybe even if we trade down from the 1st and we take Xavier Worthy later, you see the trade buzz driving around that maybe the Bengals want to trade up to 9, and what that would give us, it would give us a haul for another 1st-round pick next year plus 3 extra picks this year. We'd have 2 first-rounders again next year, guys. There's so many options, but it's looking like that trade down is something that Ryan Poles is taking very seriously. But then look at the pods. We talked about pods they break into to discuss number 9. Here's your pods of number 1 and number 9, and the end of the 1st round if you trade down. A pod for the 2nd round if we trade down. A pod for the 3rd round, number 75. I really think they like Ben Sinnott there. Kieran Agujabi if he's there for tackle. 4th round or later, that's the 122, or if we get additional picks, some guys there. So 22 of the 30 top 30 visits being used up at this point. You see Kieran Agujabi and Cam Hart don't count. They're local prospects. but he's clearly showing his hand on some stuff. So the big new ones, Byron Murphy is coming in for his visit. I don't see this being one that we really hard pursue. The reason being, yes, he has a good sack hit hurry, 6.4, but a very bad missed tackle percentage for an interior defensive man. You want to see them with lower missed tackle percentages. Look at him compared to Gervon Dexter. Oops, skip one there. Look at him compared to Gervon Dexter. Gervon Dexter in college was misused, and that was talked about last year. I'm not going to go deep into that, but they did not play him properly in their scheme in Florida. He wasn't played properly, and so his sack numbers were very low, and that was kind of a knock on him. But if you look at, it's hard to see there in the top orange, if you look at Byron Murphy's sack hit hurry rate, 6.4, missed tackle percentage, 23.8. In college, Gervon Dexter's was 13.6, so much worse. So 13.6 plays between a sack hit or a hurry. He wasn't disrupting. He was playing more contained. That's really what they had him doing. But his missed tackle percentage was more appropriate. Well, once he got to the NFL, that reality set in. Missed tackle percentage is way down. That's why they had Zach Pickens coming in more on the run plays. He was clearly a better disruptor. His sack hit hurry, even coming down from college, was huge. In the second half of the year, he's one of those guys. I did a video recently on Tyreek Stevenson and how much he improved the second half of the year. Gervon Dexter did the same thing. In fact, all 4 of his sacks came within the last 5-6 weeks. He really came on as a strong presence in the end. In fact, his numbers really were right in line there with Jalen Carter's, who was clear and beyond the best rookie 3-tech. So you look at everything here. I mean, compare these two guys. Look at their 40-yard dash. Almost identical. Their 20-yard split, almost identical. It was identical. Their 10-yard split, almost identical. Their shuttle, 3-cone, almost the same. Their vertical, their broad jump, almost the same. The only difference is Gervon Dexter's just bigger. He's 6'5.5", where Byron Murphy is 6 foot flat and a little smaller, 297 pounds. Gervon Dexter, 310 pounds. Now, I'm not saying that Byron Murphy's worse because he's shorter. He's a bull. And if you watch him on tape, he's fun to watch. But I think they really see something in Gervon Dexter they have. So I think this is really just a checking off the box type of thing. And there's really a lot of those things, like checking off the box. Marvin Harrison Jr., are we realistically going to trade up for him? Probably not, but you're checking off the box because you didn't get to see him at the combine. You didn't get to see him in his top 30. And the same thing can be said for J.C. Latham, who we're bringing in right now. No combine, no pro day, so now we're going to have a top 30 visit with him. Get those medicals, do our evaluation on him, see if there's something we're missing out there, because clearly offensive tackle is something we could pursue with Kieran Abenjabi, Tyler Guyton, J.C. Latham. What's interesting to me, though, is if we do this trade down scenario, it's likely we take a defensive end, Dallas Turner, Chop Robinson, Latu. We haven't brought Jared Verse in. We met with him at the combine, so maybe they didn't even like that interaction, and maybe he's just not an option. I don't know. But if one of those guys with the option, we do go edge in the first and we're trading back, there's not really a wide receiver that we're targeting in the second round. We should be bringing in the Xavier Legettes, the Roman Wilson, someone that we might be trading down, say, to 44 to 48 range and being able to select. So it'll be interesting to see what these last 8 top 30 visits are, because I'm looking to see if there's someone in the second round wide receiver range in my head. Because if we don't, that means very clearly we're targeting these guys right here, Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, or Malik Neighbors. I mean, those really are the targets. So back to this. And then the other one that we have is J.C. Latham. You see there's no recordings because he didn't do anything because of the injury he had. But his sack hit hurry rate, 1 every 42 plays, so very solid. And he was a model of consistency in Alabama. Multiple years where he played at a high level. He's a big boy, 342 pounds, long arms, and big hand size. Seems very athletic. And, yeah, that's a real picture of him doing the Karate Kid thing between plays. I'm interested to see what happens there. All right, so let's get into the team and where we stand right now, because there's a lot of needs to fill. We go over this a lot. I'm going to hit it again, but I'm going to give you a different angle on it. You guys have seen this before. The 2 biggest needs, quarterback, wide receiver, and then replacing a swing tackle, replacing Dominique Robinson, really getting a third solid defensive end, because DeMarcus Walker is solid, but if we have either of the Montez Sweat or DeMarcus Walker go down, we're screwed, and we could really use someone to replace DeMarcus Walker and be a solid stud edge on the other side from Tez. But really, I see that being our first-round pick next year. And then we need a third tight end, especially for 13 personnel sets. 13 personnel means there's 3 tight ends. 12 personnel means there's 2 tight ends on the field at the time. Do you guys understand that? A lot of people don't, maybe at this point. We don't have a backup center, and we need one. We need a youth movement at that position to be able to build them and grow, and I think that's why Zach Frazier and Graham Barton are being targeted there in the second round if we can grab one of them. Defensive interior, we don't have a fourth one. Byron Cowart, I don't see him being a staple on the team. Tyree Carter needs to be replaced. Velus Jones Jr., is he solid on the depth piece there? I don't know. We're not going to consider that one we have to replace. He might be a solid return guy. Those jet sweeps out of the backfield are awesome to see. But you still count there. 1, 2, quarterback, wide receiver, defensive interior, guard. 3, 4, offensive tackle, defensive end. 5, 6, tight end, center. 7, 8. We still have 8 things to fill. Now, we're not going to get into it today because these episodes I only want to be so long. But leading up to the draft, I am going to do the free agents remaining that are left out there, and we're not going to target anyone until after the draft. But there are some quality guys we could pick up. There are some guys that have some real upside to them. Just to give an idea, I mean, like Carl Lawson at defensive end. If we don't draft a defensive end, Carl Lawson could be a good flyer for $3 million. That's within our budget. Kyle Van Noy, even though he's getting older, he's played at elite levels. So there's some good defensive end options there. I don't think we bring back Yannick Ngakoue. I don't think that's even a possibility. But at wide receiver, there's other options. I brought up Michael Thomas last week on a 1-year flyer. I think it's an awesome idea if we don't get a wide receiver at the top of the draft. If we draft Rome Odunze, no way in hell you're doing that. We're not bringing Michael Thomas in for that. But if we don't get a wide receiver at the top, say we get edge by trading down, and then in the second round we get a center, say we get Graham Barton or Zach Frazier to come in and learn behind Shelton, where's that wide receiver coming from? Where do we have? Well, Michael Thomas could fill that gap, and then we really need to focus on trying to get Keenan Allen extended. If we don't, we get a third-round compensation pick. Next year's draft could be even bigger than this year, depending on what happens. If we trade back to with like Cincinnati and we get their first-rounder and multiple picks this year and maybe even a second-rounder next year is going to be crazy. It really could be crazy. But then at tight end, we could re-sign Mercedes Lewis, C.J. Uzuma. I mean, there's a lot of options. So we're going to do something like that. And then the week right before the draft on this video on the Free Talk Tuesdays, I'm going to go over a bunch of undrafted free agents that might squeak into the end of the 7th round, but might not, who we might target. So those will be fun coming up. But let's look here at the offense. So here's our updated offense. I've shown you guys this one before. I did something new. This is for today. Here's the depth of the offensive line for us. This is what I want to show where we stand and how I see it. Okay, so we've got our starters, and we're okay with these starters. Braxton Jones could be replaced. You've seen that happen, but we haven't brought Joe Alt in for a top 30 visit. I think they want someone to compete with Braxton, not necessarily replace him, which is why I don't think we go there in the first round. I think Kieran Abajabi would be a perfect fit for that. Maybe we don't even take an offensive tackle because, look, down below, Matt Pryor and Jake Curhan, they're not starters. They're not even backup to me. They're depth. These are the guys you don't want to see the field, but they're okay if you're in a pinch. You don't want them as a swing tackle. You want a swing tackle to be the borderline starter guy. You want him to be the starter that's not top of the league type guy. Someone like Braxton Jones. Now, I think Braxton could be working super hard this offseason to prove himself, and I want to see the same improvement from his freshman year, his rookie year, to his second year. Now, that second year to third year, I want to see that same improvement. These guys at the bottom, yeah, they're on the team guys, but I don't see them being guys that really make the 53-man roster. Larry Borum doesn't belong on the team. Jerome Carvin, we brought him in for that, for practice squad. Bill Murray, same thing. Doug Kramer still hasn't made it onto the 53-man. Jatiri Carter, awful, terrible. Aviante Collins. So really, what we're lacking by this is Matt Pryor or Jake Curhan, they both could make it, but that means one of them would be the swing tackle, and I don't like that. So really, one of them could drop off, and we need a left tackle, a swing tackle. So that's why there's 1X there. And then really another guard, because Ryan Bates plays backup guard and backup center. I really see him more as a guard option. So we could have another guard, another center, or a left tackle. And that's what you're coming into the season with, is really 9 offensive linemen, 10 possibly, but 9 offensive linemen. You see the starting 5, Ryan Bates, one of either Matt Pryor or Jake Curhan. And then we need to pick up another tackle or a guard. So that's where we stand on offense. Now looking at defense, here's the similar situation. DeMarcus Walker, yes, He's starter quality as long as Montez Sweat there. If Montez Sweat goes down, we're screwed. I mean, there's no way to slice that any other way. Practice squad candidates, I have Dominic Robinson. See how he's in between there? I think they like him, so they're sticking with him so long. But if you look at it, last year was terrible. I mean, absolutely no excuses. It was awful. So I'd like this team to be to the point where we can start getting rid of the dross, getting rid of those guys we don't need. Daniel Hardy is definitely a practice squad cut candidate type of guy. And really, Khalid Kareem is right on the border of that too. I don't mind him being the 5th defensive end on the team, but he's not starter quality. He's not even backup quality. You don't want him to see the field very often. So we need a couple defensive ends. If we can draft one this year and then even get another one next year, that's when DeMarcus Walker would be replaced and his contract would be coming up. That's how you start building the ends, the bookends of this defense to be long-term quality. Andrew Billings, solid. Gervon Dexter, really solid as well. Had a great second half of the year. Zach Pickens is a solid backup, but we do not have a 4th defensive interior as it stands right now. So we need one. And we need a defensive end to either replace DeMarcus Walker or to replace the backup there. So that's really where we sit. Now, just to take it a step further and show our offensive targets, what I mean by targets is any wide receiver and tight end. We'll break that down. Those are our biggest 3 pods. Obviously, quarterback is going to be the number 1 pick. But then Ryan Poles talked about at the Combine, and they made several mentions of making pods, offensive tackle, defensive end, and wide receiver. Okay, well, we did the line. We did the defensive ends. Well, now here's the wide receivers. DJ Moore on one side, Keenan Allen in the slot. Solid. Obviously, both wide receiver ones top in the league, so that's awesome. Tight end Cole Kmet, tight end Gerald Everett. We're going to run a lot of 12 personnel every once in a while, probably a 13 personnel with Shane Waldron's offense. So we do not have a 3rd tight end at this point. We could get Mercedes Lewis to come back. There could be other options. I think that's the reason they have a top 30 visit with Ben Sinnott. If 75 is there, I think they absolutely take him. But the problem is a lot of people project him to go higher than that. So who knows what's going to happen there. But we don't have an X receiver right now. Right now, Tyler Scott is slated in there. That is not a fit. So right now, we need an X receiver. We need someone. We haven't taken the focus and priority on this team to be able to prioritize the wide receiver position to make it long term. Velus Jones Jr. is not backup quality at this point. I like how they used him at the end of the year in some sweeps, some play action out of the backfield, those 10-yard jet sweeps. I like that. I also love him as a returner. I know a lot of people might cringe when they hear that. He didn't have a fumble last year. 2 years ago left such PTSD in all of us that a lot of people still view him negatively. He's working on it a lot. I really see him with the new UFL, XFL type of returns. He and Dante Pettis returning those could be a huge tandem for us. It might be. And then Dante Pettis could handle the punt returns. So they're solid. When you go into camp with 90 men, you typically have 9-10 receivers. Right now, these are what we have on the team. We have 6. DJ Moore, Tyler Scott, Dante Pettis, Velus Jones Jr., Colin Johnson, and Simba Webster. Colin Johnson, to me, is a borderline depth piece. He could be wide receiver 6. When you have the 53-man roster, typically you have about 6, and 5 of them will dress on game day. Colin Johnson's right on the border of that. I think he showed enough at the end of last year to show there's some potential. He's got good size, but I don't see him when we have a deep team being on this roster. Really, those 5 right there should be it. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Tyler Scott, Velus Jones Jr., Dante Pettis. And then someone we draft. Typically, or perfect scenario, that would be Rome Odunze for me. I would love to see Rome Odunze in a Bears uniform. I think a lot of people, I've expressed that thoroughly. I think a lot of people understand my infatuation with this dude. He's actually from Vegas. He's from Henderson. His mom grew up in Utah. His dad is from here. Ended up living here. Bishop Gorman is a huge football school nationally. Won multiple national championships for football. And he went to Bishop Gorman. He broke the single game record. I don't know if it was a season record, but he broke the single game record. Went to Washington. Has balled out. He's 75% contested catch this last year. I told you guys how much I love the contested catch, low drop rate. He's going to be a star in the NFL. He's getting a lot of accolades to being like Devontae Adams. If he's there at 9, there's no way we pass up on him. You see all these teams coming up with their hypotheticals that if he's there at 9 and we're the Jaguars, if we're the Colts, if we're the Bengals, do we trade up and get him? Well, I don't see a scenario where we would trade out of that. The only way we trade down from 9 is if he's not there. And that's just the way I see it. Ignore my giant tabs here at the top, guys. I've got so many things open all the time. But here's Rome Odunze's Instagram. I love everything about him. I seriously, I'm enamored by this guy. He seems like high character, high quality. Those who don't know the story, he grew up spending time on the farm with Grandpa. He grew up being able to go up and visit Grandpa, and he's got such admiration for his grandpa on the farm, where his grandpa had an injury, a motorcycle injury or a four-wheeler injury, where he was wearing a helmet, but he can't see anymore. And he just admires his grandpa to pieces. But, I mean, everything about him, when you look through him, he's just high caliber, high quality dude. He's got a long-term girlfriend. They've been together for over 3 years. And he seems very committed and faithful to her. I know that doesn't mean everything, but I love these guys that are grounded and committed and have purpose and direction. And if you look into him, you look into his family, his background, like he's a staple for what you want in high character, high class type of guy. I really, really, really like Rome Odunze a lot. I hope he's a Bear. So one of the things I'm going to be watching as we head into this next week before we get to the next Free Talk Tuesday is who those last 8 top 30 visits are, who they're going to be. Because I want to see, I mean, there's players in the second round that I think we should start hitting those second round top 30 visits now that we've got a lot of these first rounders out of the way. Like wide receiver, Xavier Legette, Roman Wilson, or even edge, because there's some edges there that we haven't brought in. So if we do end up taking a wide receiver, there's an option where we could trade into the second round from our 75th overall, because there's options there. If we take a wide receiver there in the first round and we need an edge so bad, we could trade 75 and one of our second rounders to come up and get like a Chris Braswell. In fact, here's one of the hypotheticals that I threw out there right here. We could take Caleb, we could take Rome, and then trade a future second to come up and get Chris Braswell. And in that, we would pick up another draft pick, say 107, in the process of doing that. So trade 75 and a second for 47 and 107. We could pick up Chris Braswell, get a defensive tackle, and then pick up a tackle in the fourth round like Walter Rouse. Or if we just do a straight trade back, where does the wide receiver come in? We can get Caleb Williams, trade back to 13, pick up a second rounder, get Latu, pick up Zach Frazier or Graham Barton, Kieran Abujabi with our 75th, and then with our fourth rounder, pick up a defensive interior. So there's options there, but I'm interested to see what happens over this next week with those last 8 visits that we have to schedule. I really think you're going to start seeing a lot more of those second rounders that we could, and that'll really tip his hand. That'll tip Ryan Pohl's hand with where we're heading with that second round trade, or the first round trade down and getting a second rounder. And I think that's the direction he's leaning towards right now. I really do. All right, so at the end of this episode, I want to shift gears to the whole Tyson Bagent thing. I really am enamored by what he's been doing. He's been working his butt off this offseason. He has been putting the work in, and I'm going to show here. This is just on my Twitter, but ignore the tabs again at the top, guys. But a couple of these, if you go check it out, I'll play this. I put QB2 putting in the work all offseason, never stopping, no distractions. I freaking go check this video out. I don't want to get like tagged by YouTube or anything for replaying something, but this is him putting the work in. The title of it is A Day with the Fittest NFL Quarterback, and you just see how much he's developed. Like his form, not his NFL, his quarterback form, but his physique, I should say, is freaking stacked. That P90X style of workout that he's doing, CrossFit, I mean, well known for CrossFit, is paying off for him. He's been putting in the work, but then you look below and you see some of the work he's been doing. He went down to Huntington Beach to 3D QB, I believe is what it is. And, in fact, let me pull up the notable names there. There's tons of quarterbacks that have gone to 3D QB. tons and tons and tons. You just go check out who's been there, and I mean, there's tons of notable. Jared Goff. I know Bryce Young went there this year. Joe Burrow. Tom Brady, I believe, did at one point. So you see here, 3D QB located in Huntington Beach, California, specializes in elite quarterback training for NFL, college, high school, and youth quarterbacks. Their comprehensive approach combines biomechanics trainings, motion analysis, and other essential elements endorsed and practiced by top quarter professionals in the NFL. So it shows a little bit of what they do. Let's just Google this real quick. Notable 3D QB. There's been some big names that have gone out. So anyways, he did that this offseason. He's really putting the work in. I mean, he broke the record at Division II for yards and touchdowns and everything. He doesn't take this lightly. He wants to be QB1. Is there any way that he is QB1? Not on the Bears. Not when you're selecting the top overall quarterback in the draft. That's not going to happen.
Good.
See the work he's putting in there. His whole physique is just different, though. Let me get that back down. So here's the title of it. Says Chicago Bears quarterback Tyson Bagent working 7-step play action, selling draw on 3-step, directional hitch to make a straight balanced throw on time to 18-yard comeback with anticipation, accuracy, and velocity. Head always still, body level, and weight stays the same throughout movements. I want to know what his new size is. I want to know like how big he's gotten and how much those improvements are. Because he was 6'3", 213 pounds, and I'm telling you right now, he's got to be at least 6'3", 230, I'm guessing. But here he was on his first year, and regardless of what anybody tells you, he didn't have a phenomenal year. In fact, he was handicapped like crazy. Let me go and show you passing concept, screen passes. Look at on his drop box, 16.4%. In that time frame, nobody else was throwing that many screens. And really, that's the Bears knowing that their line was terrible and Justin Fields was bailing them out 90% of the time. So they had to get it out of his hand every single time. He just had to. And he struggled. And if it wasn't one thing, it was another with him. The one amazing play he had to Cole Kmet was really Cole Kmet making that catch. But you see 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Really didn't have too much positive in that other than the win that we had against Carolina, but even that was a struggle win. Vegas win was really more on Vegas not turning the corner yet. But what I do like about him is that he keeps putting his nose to the grind and every single day working to improve. There's a lot to like about Tyson Bagent being the backup. So that's one of the things I wanted to bring up to you guys here at the end is all the people buzzing about Tyson Bagent, a lot of people are acting like he could be QB1 now. There's no shot of that happening for the Bears. But for him to be able to be a quality backup, if something, heaven forbid, happened to Caleb Williams and we needed someone to step in, that's when you want to see guys like this that are putting the nose down and putting the work in, really getting that grind. That's where you want to see them have their moment to shine. Having that moment to prove themselves and turn into the Brock Purdy's, turn into the Tom Brady's, and turn into that hero scenario. And I think he's the type of guy that could do it. I think he really is the mentality and the type of player that really has that fortitude to stick with it and make it happen. So I love that he's our QB2. And there's nothing negative you can say about iron sharpening iron, him coming into camp, competing, and putting that work in to be able to make both he and Caleb work harder and be better, both of them improving and growing. So I like that. Check that out a little bit. It's a lot of fun. The other thing, I had to find it. So the other thing, go listen to the whole thing with Greenlight with Montez Sweat with Chris Long, because there's some gems in there, and really he talks about the Packers. No, we can't lose to them. We can't. He's already born. He's bleeding Chicago Bears orange. He's already got the rivalry with the Packers, and I love Montez Sweat. That's the next jersey I'm going to get. I absolutely am going to get a Montez Sweat. But here his. So we talked about Gervon Dexter, and I'm going to do a little bit more on this. I'm going to do a video on this very soon. You guys are going to see a video on Gervon Dexter and his improvement. If you didn't see him in the offseason, In fact, I should pull up that screen too. Hold on one here. I can't find it. But go look. There's a picture with him after working out. He freaking looks like he's jacked this offseason too. I love the work. These guys see the potential for a window here to win a championship. But listen to Montez Sweat talking about Gervon Dexter as a 3-tech. He thinks we're good at 3-tech. He doesn't think we need to draft Byron Murphy.
What about Gervon Dexter? As he got,
boy, you gonna see
a shot.
Yeah, man, you gonna see, man. He's pretty good. I feel like he was still like just kind of unlocking himself, being himself. And I think that's gonna really flourish this year, bro. He's a really talented kid. He's one of those real quick D tackles, but strong as hell. And it's really a sight to see. But yeah, he gonna jump out on the scene for sure.
He just gotta get his pads down. He's so big.
He is. He's tall, but he's strong though. Yeah. So it's like, and another thing, like using that leverage. You know what I'm saying? You got to learn how to, because he's a longer guy too. So
he's figuring that out.
He's one of those guys that can, like, any jack of trade, like he could do it all kind of. So he even, bro, sometimes he came out on the edge and was making some inside moves. Yeah, man, he's pretty good.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. I don't want to keep this any longer. I try to keep these between 30 and 45 minutes. We go a little bit long. I have all this stuff planned out. There's more stuff I want to get to. That's why I knew I couldn't get to free agents and undrafted free agents today. There are some free agents I want to target once the draft is over. But we got a lot coming up. We got a lot of big things happening the next couple weeks. So this next week is really focused on who those last 8 are going to be. Tomorrow, actually today, I'm doing this at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. So today is the Bears local pro day. So if you didn't see that, in fact, let me pull that up. Okay, here's the local pro day. Here's the guys that we know of. There are probably going to be more, but anybody who is a local school, Northwestern Illinois, Notre Dame, even the smaller schools around the greater Chicago area, do not count as a top 30 visit. So take Cam Hart off the top there. He was originally listed on this local visit, but he's already had his top 30 visit, so he's not coming to this. But that's happening today. Also, any player who attended high school in the Chicago area does not count against the top 30 visit. Now, most of the time, these guys are your late rounders, your day 3 or undrafted free agents that we want to check out and see if we can get an inside scoop on them, see if there's someone we can take later after the draft or even the late rounds. We don't have any really late round picks, so there's some good things to be garnished here and some good guys that we might pick up. But that's happening today, April 9th. That's happening today. As soon as we know more on that and how it went and what happened and if anybody stood out, I'll let you know on that. But that's the big news today. And then really the rest of the week is the rest of those top 30 visits. And then we're getting real close to the draft. We are 2 weeks and 2 days away. So, it's happening soon. Those who don't know, I am going live for the draft for day 1. I might pop in live for a minute just around the other picks on those days, but not for long periods of time. I'll be live for over an hour on the first night on draft night. So anybody who wants to check that out, come join me. Have some fun. We'll have some reactions. We'll have some stats. We'll have the advanced stuff on here. I have it all prepared for when it goes down. It's going to be a lot of fun. Historic off season. That's it for Free Talk Tuesday. Thanks for checking it out. Thanks for being here, guys. A lot of big things coming up. If you don't mind, hit the like button if you haven't. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done that by now. I appreciate you guys following and checking it out. We do have some good things we bring out. The most recent videos where I'm proud of the work that I do is if you check out Tyreek Stevenson, it's entitled The Bears Cornerback Room is Stacked. It really shows his transformation in the second half of the season. I will be doing a similar one to Gervon Dexter very soon, getting some hype up for these guys as we go into the season. This team is pretty loaded. So we have a big opportunity here with a rookie quarterback, with additional pieces we're going to be adding, and then in free agency, we've already made some huge additions, trades for some of those like Keenan Allen. This team is ready to rock, so I can't wait for us to be competing with the Lions, to be smashing the Packers. That's going to happen. The Packers are going to have a rough drop-off this year. I'm already telling you that right now. So until next time, thanks for checking it out. Hope you guys have a great Tuesday. Free Talk Tuesday, Episode 5. Thanks a lot, and bear down.